Hello and welcome back. Module number 5, and this is the third presentation, and this is where I'm going to start talking about PHP. I do apologize, we do not have a lot of time. I will try to do it as straightforward as I can. I will give you reference to good website that you will be able to learn more about PHP, and again, to understand the difference between PHP and JavaScript is part of your design, your idea of a website is really critical. So, PHP, as I said before at the beginning and throughout the semester, PHP is a server-side scripting language, which means that it enables us to connect to database, enable us to make connection between the website and the database. Example, when you purchase something in Amazon and they come back to you and say, oh, sorry, we do not have that product, it means that they connected to the database, and the database came and said, oh, sorry, we do not have that. So this type of connection is required, and PHP provides us the ability to do that. PHP is an open source application, which means that everyone can use it. However, everyone has his own style of how to write it, and this is the beauty of PHP. It runs on different platforms such as Windows, Linux, and Unix, and usually on a server, it usually runs on Apache. Apache is a Unix machine, and it also can run on Microsoft machine, but majority of application that I experience and I know of, it's Apache, which is a Unix machine, and that's where the PHP runs very well. PHP.net is the official website for that language, and I highly recommend it, because if in the future, let's assume that after you graduate you will have a job, this is a place to visit. This is a place that you will need to have in your back mind when you are going to create something in the web. So the PHP files contain inside JavaScript, HTML, and CSS, and which means you can embed all those things. Example, Amazon. In the first version of Amazon, it consists of PHP, which means it still exists, it's still alive. And LinkedIn, in the first version of LinkedIn, it was a PHP. The issue with PHP is, again, it is a very active language, and so in order for you to save the file as PHP, in order for the server to recognize it, it has to end as .php, otherwise it will not recognize it. In compared to HTML, when the server recognizes this is HTML, it doesn't interact with the database, or it doesn't connect with the server side. This is where the PHP come into play, and you need to save the file as PHP. Instead of a lot of comments to output, PHP contains embedded the HTML. And you will see very soon an example of it. How do we embedded the PHP inside the HTML? It is the idea of the quote and question mark in order for us to do that. In this example, you see the foundation of this page is HTML. You see the HTML, you see the head, you see the body, but inside you see the PHP. This is where I declare to the server that I am a PHP and I need you to communicate with me in order for me to apply. So the issue that inside of it, inside the PHP script, is a character or a sequence of character that marks the beginning and the end of the code segment that is written in PHP. So the standard method of writing the PHP code and the declaration of the code is start with a block to use the question mark PHP and the idea of how it ends. So individual lines of code that mark the PHP are also called sometimes statements in a script element that identify the script section as a web page document. But inside, as I told you before, there is the script that determine or give attributes to the action that you want to do. Okay, so now we're talking about the structure of the PHP. The main page, if you will have one day, you will have your own server and you'll be able to run it and configure it yourself, it will be the php.ini. However, in the case that we are running in the zero fee or the other website that you are using for your hosting, you will not be given permission to use the php.ini, because this is the foundation, and if you mess up with this file, the entire server will be corrupt, and that takes a lot of responsibility. So maybe one day when you have more accessibility and more ability to understand what you want, and you want to change the structure of the PHP server, this is where the file will consist of. In order for us to display the result of any code in the PHP system, we use the echo and the print system. That are a way for us to display the result on a web page that is returned as a response to the client, which means that you ask if this product exists in my database. The way for me to write the code that will come back to you is the echo and the print system, and it can be returned as 0 if it's not successful or 1 as a successful. So the use of echo and print statement are the result of the client. So basically we are having a text string that is a text that contains with a double or single quotation marks, and to pass multiple arguments to the echo and the print statement, separate them in a comma, such like an arguments passed to a function. So in this case, the echo is a hello world, and you can also have a lot of comments. One of the things that you will see when you will start digging into PHP, you will see that people, when they give free code, they give you comments. They write their comments into it, and this is part of how we distribute their code, and this is the way for us to support and use it. So in this case, example of a comment, this is a single line comment. There is also a single line comment, and this is a multiple line comment, and this is how we do that. Again, this is the way for us to apply. In this case, the PHP in this case is the $x equal 5, and I'll do manipulation and plus and double 15 plus 5, and I want the echo as the result of what the $x is equal to. So in this case, it will be equal 10. As we talked about JavaScript, we talked about variable that stores values such as text, strings, numbers, or array. The same goes to the PHP. When a variable is declared, it's used over and over again in your script. All variables in PHP start with a $sign symbol. So a $_name equal value, that will be a string, that will be a variable for us to account for. So the text, hello world, and the x equals 16. Again, two examples of text and numerical value that we can apply when we are talking about variables. So in PHP, variables does not need to be declared before adding a value to it. So in the example above, you can see that they do not have to tell the PHP which type of data the variable is. So again, the PHP automatically convert a variable into the correct data type depending on its value. And this is important. Why? Because again, think about sending this data to the database and declaring each one of that can take a lot of code. So again, the PHP make us shortcut the way for us to write a more proficient code and more strong, suitable to the type of data that we want to store. And a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters, underscores A to Z, capital Z, 0 to 9, and an underscore. All of that are part of our way for us to contain the idea of the variables that we want to hold. It also allowed us to interconnect things and events, and in this case it allowed us to example text 1, text 2, and you can add those together or manipulate one variable to another, and this is a way for us to do that. Again, the issue of connecting those things together make the PHP as a very strong way for us to do that. So the output of the code in the last slide will be hello world, what a nice day. And how did I do that? I declare two variables. Variable text1 is equal to hello world, variable 2 equal to what a nice days, and I said the echo I want it to be text1 and space and text2. So in order for us to do that, you see there's a small space between them and allowed us to do hello world, what a nice day. So we are looking for two separate things that we allow us to do. The same as the JavaScript, we have PHP operators, and this is based on the value, and there are four classification of operators: the algorithmics, the assign, the comparison, and the logical. All of them like we saw in the JavaScript. And so again, I lay out for you all the operators that we will use in order for us to manipulate the data or to have the ability to send the data to the database and to present the data in a truly way on the web using the PHP. As we learn in JavaScript, we have also a conditional statement. So every often when you write a code, you want to perform different action for different decisions. So you can use conditional statement in the code. So we will follow the conditional statement as we saw in JavaScript. If else, else, and the switch. Again, the same structure that we saw in JavaScript. And if we will look at that, we have a variable called date, and which is D, and if it's D and it's equal to Friday, have a nice weekend. And by doing that, I recognize what day it is, and if it is Friday, I will come up or I will echo, display, have a nice weekend. In the use of if else, execute some code condition is true and another code is a condition of default. Again, the issue of the same structure that I did in the last document, in the last slide. And in this case, I will say, have a nice day. Else, if it's not Friday today, have a nice day. So this is again the condition that the computer identify what the date of the user and send it back to the server to verify the date and to display it. The PHP conditional statement if more than one line should be executed if the condition is true or false. The line should be enclosed within brackets in order for us to do that. Again, how to do that, and I showed those examples in that case, and the condition statement. I want you to go over that. I want you to have a sense what it is entail, because one of the things that we will do is that we will use the PHP to in your form to connect to a database, and this is exciting because you can store the data in a PHP code and store it into the database. So a conditional statement, again, the idea what it is, and as we learn in JavaScript arrays, again, the idea is to store area holding a text or numbers. The problem is a variable can only hold one variable. Array is a special variable which can store multiple values in a single variable. So in this case, car1, car2, car3, and we can apply array in order for us to display it and in order for us to access it. And again, we have numeric array, we have associative array, and we have multi-dimensional array. Each one of them displays something else, and just again have a sense what it is. When you have numerical array, each store array element within numerical index. There are two methods to create array, and in the following examples that the index is automatically assigned, the index always start with a 0, and so the car 0, car 1, car 2, and car 3, and by doing that you can apply numerical array into it and apply them into the sense of how accommodate what you want. We can also assign values to the names, in this case age, and so we are assigning age to different people, and this is what it will look like. And when we are trying to do Peter is age, Peter, old, and this is the echo will display in HTML that Peter is 32 years old. Multi-dimensional array, again, this is how I apply it in order for us to do assign ID key into it. And again, I have some dimension that I like to give and the array on it in order for me to do that. So this is the short version of the PHP. We will learn more about the PHP as next in module number 6. But right now, what I want you to focus is to understand, because you will need to create one PHP file in order for you to have the context of what it is entail. So the PHP file is the extension of the PHP. You will need to have the file as a PHP and not HTML, and inside the HTML you will input the PHP code as we cover in this class. So more examples and more information you will find on Canvas. Until next time, have fun!